G'day, hi, and welcome. All right. No signs of Marvin. I don't know where he is. I am kind of worried about him a bit. He's not up in his tree. He's not in my house. I think I finally blocked him off once and for all, for now anyway. There's no dead mice. But however, the plot thickens for that tree. So I already showed you the first video. Now you saw the second video. Uh, Tonight I got to make the decision whether I'm going to tackle it or not. I mean, it's doable. It's just how much damage is going to be incurred. Uh, for the roof is already damaged now. I didn't know the other day when I looked at the tree whether it was damaged or not because the way it hit it seemed like I was assuming there was going to be damage, but with all the branches and stuff like that and snow and stuff like that, you can't really see, right? But today it was mild out, so I guess whatever snow was on the roof melted off. And I can see there was a little bit, because I was like, if there was no damage, I was like the world's toughest trailer. What I don't know is, because I haven't been on the roof, so what I gotta do is I'll make a better assessment. I need a ladder to really see what's going on up there. And what I'll do is I'll contact my client, let her show her the photos. I took a bunch of photos, show her the photos, explain to her what's going on, and then see what she wants me to do about it. If she wants me to do it, maybe she has somebody that, oh no, I've got a guy that does stuff like that for me. I doubt it, but you never know. Or maybe she thinks somebody else could do it or whatever. But it is a really tricky. It's not a tricky cut now. Like when it was 10 feet in the air, that's like mission impossible without other equipment, right? Maybe not mission impossible, but extremely dangerous. Like a tree 10 feet in the air, you don't want to be on a ladder cutting that. You know what I mean? Sideways like that, because when it drops, it could roll, right? And big trees like that, the only thing I can guarantee you about the big trees like that is that it's unpredictable which way it's going to roll. That's all I can tell you. It's going to roll. It's going to roll at your ladder and you, or at the other way. Now, if you're really lucky, it drops straight down. But usually, as it drops, it pongs to one side or the other. Right? It's just nature of the beast. There's a lot of tension there, a lot of weight there. But what I would do, now that it's dropped down 4 feet, and I can get probably about 2/3 of the way up it, if I drop that 1/3 away, there's still probably about 3 tons sitting there, you know what I mean? Like, it's a very heavy tree. Or maybe even 2 tons sitting there. Now, what I'm afraid of, as soon as I cut it, right, it's going to do one of these things. And then here's the roof, rolls into something. So what I have to do is, my other fear is, because the power lines go right over the trailer, right? And they're like, you're literally a foot or two from the power line when you're cutting. So I got to get up there to see how much the branches have gotten close. How like can I cut these branches away without touching the power line and dying, right? It is dangerous. It is dangerous. So I have to get up there and assess it. But I have to let her know, because what I was trying to do is assess it to give her just a yes or no answer when I contact her, to let her know that something's on her the tree's on her trailer. But the thing is that I'm at the point now where it's like, okay, well, I still can't give her a solid yes or no answer. I have to get up onto the roof, or not onto the roof, but see on top of the roof to see if I can get on the roof. That roof, like, it might be so fragile that you just fall through it, right? So there's that as well. But if I can get onto the roof, cut the branches, say maybe about 2 feet from the edge, clean all that up, then all that part is off the thing. So even if it rolled or whatever, there's not branches. I'm just going to start mashing the shit out of everything, get cut up in the hydro line, right? Now, the branches on the side, I can trim those off, which will take a little bit of weight off as well. And then what I could do is, like if there's any branches that are like, see, there's two big branches that one looks like I think it's on the ground a bit and holding some of that weight, right? So I can't cut right up to that branch, nor do I want to take that branch off. But if you don't take that branch off, that's your springboard, right? But it might be a little bit more predictable. Okay, well, I know when it rolls, it's going to roll away from, it's going to pogo away from the branch, right? Unless the branch snaps or whatever. But you could also do one of these weird things. Trees could do weird things, right? So you got to kind of, like there's a lot of, before you even like start the saw, a lot of times there's just a lot of staring at it, just kind of like trying to read the tree, what it's going to do, right? But it is now in a position where I can cut it. So it's like the beavers have helped me out a little bit here. They caused the problem, but they're helping me out as well. So, well, if anything, the little buggers are going to make me some money. So it's just my fear is that if the weight goes through, it can, like, I'm not saying it would go right through the trailer, but what I'm saying is that trailer is really damn old and the structural integrity of it is kind of questionable. It might just go right through the damn trailer, right? So, which would be a bigger problem. But I'm not sure what they're going to do with that trailer. Maybe she doesn't care about it at all. So, okay, if it gets damaged, who cares? But the idea is to cut the tree away without damaging the trailer. I probably could do it, but whether I do it or somebody else does it, like it still might come down to like a backhoe or something lifting just the one end up high enough to get it off the roof so you can cut it back, right? And or whatever. So if it requires that, like an actual lift off the roof, obviously I can't do that. I don't have the machinery, right? So there's things there. But what I'm getting at is that if I clean up the top of the roof up to, say, just leave whatever's holding, maybe cut it up to, say, that far from the edge or whatever, wherever there's, whatever I can get away with, clean all that up, okay, come down, do my two barrel cuts, as I call them. I don't know what the proper term is, but basically you got a log like this, literally like this, right? So you cut in a bit, you cut all the way around there, come in, and you go like a square around it. You leave a chunk in the center about that big. And then what you do is you cut a big gap, like you were following the tree, right? But you cut a gap like this, or you can go like this if you want. I tend to do this because I want this, right? I want it to, when it drops, I want it to do this. Then I'll do a second one, you notch it that way too. There's a million ways you can do this. This is like a slow, kind of sure way. So it takes your tree that's essentially this size and makes your tree this size, is what you're doing. So you're more likely to be able to just come up underneath it and it'll just, it'll just break into itself rather than pinch your saw. That's one of those things where if you pinch your saw with that, your bar is going to be staying there until you cut it out. And I don't have a spare bar, so that little chainsaw, it could probably cut into it, but it's just like I don't think I have enough bar on the little saw to rescue my big saw. But there is a way to do it. Plunge cutting and stuff like that. There's all kinds of tricks you can do, but the idea is just not to do that in the first place because the tree's dangerous enough as it is. So the other option is to try to break it, like cut it, plunge cut it, and like say you leave a strip on the top like this, and a strip on the bottom. You cut the top one, okay, maybe in 3 notches. Okay, after you plunge cut it, you cut the top 3 notches. Okay, and the idea is maybe you cut back, say, I don't know, say 3 inches from your plunge cut, and you got maybe about 2 inches there. Okay, now what you do is you do all the way down to the bottom, and then you score it again, put your wedges in, start smashing the shit out of the wedges. What will happen is it'll just snap off, and then it should just drop. That's probably a safer way to do it. You can do it from the top, you can do it from the side, whatever you're most comfortable doing. that is another way to do it, or maybe just get the wedges in there and then you just score it and then it breaks on its own and you're good. But it doesn't take the saw with. I don't know if I'm explaining it well enough, but there's tricks. The best one is probably just the barrel around where you cut in on the top. Okay, you cut in like maybe almost halfway, come out, okay, and then come down and then come up underneath like that. That's how you usually do that. But the first block is still going to want to do, even if you cut, it's coming down. First block wants to do this, right? Hence why you want this. So, like you can do things because there's a lot of weight there. There's a lot of weight there. It's like even just coming up. I mean, maybe the inside of the tree is partially rotted. You coming up and it just shatters into a million pieces on the way down. Takes the saw into your leg or something like that. So you gotta kind of really plan it out how you're gonna do it. That you don't pinch your saw. Like once you get that first block off, after that, everything's dangling in the air and you just go bloop, 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 do all those things. And it goes bloop, bloop. That's the sound the chainsaw makes. I don't know if that's healthy, but that's the sound the chainsaw makes. Bloop, 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 bloop. I did chainsawing today. Some hard maple. I still got a bunch of that to cut up. Mostly I did the branch part to get, because when Perry put the tree down, he put it in, it came down in the garden a bit. And so for the springtime, rather than having that mess in the garden, I cleaned all that up. But I still got blocks like this big of solid maple. Got through that chainsaw. I thought I was going to have to sharpen it today. I did a log. And just by the end there, it's like, okay, it wasn't frozen, but it was close to frozen. And if you've ever chainsawed in frozen wood, you know what I'm talking about. You'll be sharpening your saw a little more. So I definitely got to sharpen my saw, but it was still cutting pretty straight. Like, I mean, the amount of cutting I got off that chain in 1 year. Gonna try to do my chainsaw review this weekend. I'd like to do this job first and then go from there. So if I do it, say, or even Friday, because either way, I could do it tomorrow. I could tackle that tree tomorrow if I wanted. But it depends on when I hear from. Maybe she doesn't get back to me for like 4 or 5 days or a week or something like that. You know what I mean. So it's hard to say what. But as soon as I get the green light, I'll tell her I'm going to attempt it, and if I can't do it, I'll let you know, and then I'll get as far as I can. I know I can do some. It's just that it really all comes down to one cut. It all comes down to one cut, whether it's going to be a make or break it kind of thing. And it's not the first cut, it's actually the second cut. Like the first cut, I want to prepare it for the second cut. The idea is the first cut is to alleviate, so when it comes down, that you get a bit of a fold like this, so it can pull away from itself, right? I've seen like a million ways people have notched it. But maybe when I go into it, it's like, okay, it's cutting good enough. And then it's like, okay, I do like, say, 5 barrels, okay, or 5 blocks. Okay, so I'm going to get like a complete fold. And then maybe I get lucky enough, okay, notch this one, and this one, grab the sledgehammer, bang, and it just all crumbles right in front of you. That's the best case scenario. Because then you could just let it drop and you're not underneath it. You're not, the saw is safe. And you take all that weight off the roof. But you have to understand the butt end is holding a lot of that weight too. So when you go like that, that's a lot of weight moving back into the trailer, right? So that's why that second cut is really the critical one. It's actually got to be almost like you got to kind of almost do them simultaneously. And then you're about halfway up the tree butt, or a third up. I'd like to be at least like 3/4. I'd love to have the first cut, 3/4 of the way up, and then there's definitely not that much weight left on the roof. Will be able to handle it, but that 2/3, if that's left on the roof dangling after the first cut, that could be a lot. Like if I'm lucky, it just drops down and actually just teeters on the roof like this, and there's not a lot of weight there. then that's like, okay, well, that's neither here nor there. I don't care about that. There's not going to be any real damage, right? Uh, yeah, so I definitely got to get into it with a larder. I know I can get the tree cleaned up around it. It's just that critical fall. That's going to be the tricky one. It's kind of one of those things like you look at it, say, I'm going to cut it this way, and then you start looking at it again. It's like, here's some of the problems they're going to run into, right? So you don't rush at these things. That's why it costs so much to get tree removal and stuff like that done, is because when it's just a tree that you're following in the bush, it's like, okay, as long as there's a clear path to put it on the ground, you're not going to get hung up in any other tree. You're laughing. But this is the equivalent of being like hung up almost horizontal, completely horizontal, right? So like I say, I don't cut normal trees. I cut everything. I cut is like a twisted and stuff like this. So you got to really kind of think it out. But it is a good challenge. It'll be the saw will have no problem going through that. It's only poplar, so the very first tree I cut with that MS400 was that giant frozen poplar. If you guys remember the very first video from that saw, from the saw, sawing up that. This tree is in that range, but it's not as big as what those were huge. Those were like 36-inch blocks. They were huge. I had to cut them from both sides. Even with the 20-inch bar, I had to cut it from both sides. It was like, wow. But I was able to zip it up pretty cool. Going through the frozen hard maple today, like once I brought my dad's cat dog with me, and it started zipping. It was just like whoop, whoop. Again, a year on that chain and bar, and I can't complain. I am going to flip the bar though. I definitely got to sharpen it up before I start that job. If I do that job, well, that's up to her. I'm willing to do it now because like the other day I couldn't do it, like just because the butt was it was sitting on a barber chair 4 feet in the air. What my fear was I was going to get this, right? But the beavers, they chewed the rest of it out. I can't believe they did that. They did this in one night, and now it was on the ground. So that bringing it, the overall log down from 10 feet down to about 4 feet. Almost a third of the way up. That is probably, in a nutshell, the best. The main problems with that tree right now, okay, there's a lot of weight there, but if I cut that third, like that weight isn't going to push forward. It might roll, but it's not going to push forward. And I don't think the whole tree is going to roll. When it comes down, it might shear and snag this off. You just try to do a straight, you can't just cut straight through. You have to think your cut out and come up underneath. And sometimes a lot of people think they can just come up underneath the whole way, but sometimes what happens is when it's coming up underneath, you get this, or you get like this is your block and this is the center. Okay, you're cutting up, and when you get here, what happens is this. Right, because it closes in on itself, right, and then it just gets jammed like this. So you have to get rid of that. So when you're coming up, and it's just about to let go, you could either smack it, and it goes like that, and then either the block gets hung up on it, or the other thing you could do is when you do your notch cut like that. First off, don't cut like if your notch is there, cut like maybe about an inch or two ahead of it. Don't cut right at the butt, because what happens is if you cut an inch or two ahead of it, maybe you cut 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you have like maybe about an inch and a half, 2-inch gap or whatever. Cut that out. You can do that. You can plunge cut it, however you want to do it. You can get fancy with it. And then the idea is that you're creating a situation where your saw can't get pinched. And when you wedge it like that, it's like taking your tree that's this big and taking it down to about that. So it would really have to come into here, right? And then you could stop about here. Once you start noticing the weight coming down, pull it out and smack it with a hammer. Don't overthink it. Just smack it with a hammer. A lot of times you'll break it. And if you don't break it, just give it another little cut, widen out your groove. Maybe do two more or whatever, and then so that if it does let go, it's not on your saw. It's not like pinched to your saw. Like there's a lot of things you can do. A lot of things you can do. Some people put in wedges. They cut, maybe say they take the initial cut. Okay, so all the tension is like this, or whatever. It's gonna go like this. Maybe you're lucky it's like this, and you can. Well, that's even worse because of like the tension's like kind of like pushing at the top like this. When you come up, what happens is it just does one of these, right? It doesn't come all the way down. Like if this is the other block, it's like it just goes like this and it stays there. But what you could do is you can cut one, another blade width, like maybe about 4 blade widths, and you'll get something like this. Throw your wedge in, okay, and as you're coming up, when it clamps down, okay, by the time you get cut through, all you got to do is kind of pull back. The wedge might even hold it there, and then you just give it a smack and it all falls down and it doesn't pinch your saw. So that's all. You do it all by feel, right? You do it all by feel, but it's nice to just go yeah, that's ideally what you want to do. Nice and simple, but it doesn't always work that way. Like if the log is completely like horizontal, not slight on an angle, then it's probably just going to drop straight down. It might roll a bit as you're cutting it, but it'll typically come straight down without pinching your bar. But this is just on enough of an angle like that. I guess about like that. So when you're coming up, you're not cutting. You're not cutting straight. The other thing is, like how you cut makes a big difference too. But there's a lot of things you can do here. But it will come down to one cut, dropping as much weight off that tree on the first cut as possible. So whatever's left, it's not sitting there and just gonna mangle the crap out of the roof, right? In theory. But I'll see. But maybe I get up there and it's like, oh, okay, no, I get up on the roof and it's like, oh no, the tree's like right into the hydro line. As soon as it's into the hydro line, I'm not touching it, right? If you mess up the hydro line, you got to pay for that. That already happened to one of my clients a couple of years back. Another guy felled the tree, but it fell right onto the power line. It was like $12,000 just for hydro to come and deal with that, and it wasn't a big tree either. So you're talking the main run right there. There's like probably charge you $250,000 for that, right? So no, I will just I hate to tell people no, but if I can't do it safely, I'm not going to do it. It's A, not worth my life. B, it's not worth the money. And it's like, if it's like that, then I can't do it right anyway. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. You always got to be honest with your abilities, what you can get away with and what you can't get away with. Right now, I think I can get away with it. Yesterday, I couldn't because it was, the way it was hanging in the air. There was no safe way, there was no way to safely cut that at 10 feet. You know what I mean? You're going to need something to support it. But now it's like, okay, well, I could probably get this done. I could probably do this within an hour or two. Like the cleanup, like my main one is to get it off the roof. Once it's off the roof, I'll clean it up in the spring, and I'll take the wood. I could bring the wood here. Like if I get all three of those trees, I probably got about 4 or 5 cord of wood right there, just in those 3 trees. Like they're huge. They're huge. It's all poplar, but still, because unless she's got a wood stove in that thing, and then she says, no, I'll just saw it up for stove wood, and I'll burn it whenever I come by. Okay. So I don't know, but it will be interesting. So yeah, no, I did maple trees today. So I've done a fair amount of hardwood with that saw. So I'll be able to give people. It's just I haven't fallen a lot of hardwood trees with it. A couple of birch, but nothing spectacular. Not sure what the biggest tree I fell with it is. I haven't fallen any big trees with it yet. So, but I have cut up big trees that were on the ground with it, and that made a big difference. That's great. It's a great saw. It's a fantastic saw. I brought the little saw with me, but I didn't use it. I didn't because I'm gonna have to do the tree prawn. I'm gonna have to do a review of him as well because I mean I used it quite. It's paid for itself. Both saws have paid for itself. Uh, yeah, is what it is. But the thing about the big saw, the reason why I use it so much more is that, like I say, it's almost the perfect medium-sized saw, where it's a big, heavy saw, but it's light enough you can work with it all day. Like it just, like if you're working like if for a heavy saw, I would say like say picture like a Husky 272, something as heavy as that. That thing, you cut with it for about half an hour, you're gonna put the damn thing on the ground. It's like it doesn't matter if you're used to saws or not. Like that thing is a workout. After you follow the great fallen saw, there's no doubt about that. It's a fantastic saw. The 272, the 372 Huskies are fantastic saws. They're 72 cc's, lots of power, all that good stuff. But 45 minutes of working with it, it's like I gotta go take a fucking nap. It's like holy shit. This thing is like you work with it all day, and it's just a notch behind the 272 for power. Like you will notice the 272 doesn't rev as high, number one, and the 372 doesn't rev as high, and it's a little more torquey than this thing. But this thing is like it's a screamer, right? It's not that much of a guzzler. Like I thought it would be, being such a high revving saw, it makes you feel like you've got an MS 260 or 261 on steroids. That's slightly heavier. That's really what it feels like. It's again, it's right at that weight where you can work with it all day, and if it's the only saw you had, you could work with it all day. But like when I get into really tight spots on small stuff, yeah, I'll use a small saw. Or where I don't want the saw to cut so damn bloody fast because I don't want to nick something, whether it be like special little bushes or something like that, like little shrubs and stuff like that. I'll use the other saw because it's a little more tame. Deck boards, if you're gonna do like do a plunge cut into a deck board to take out old deck boards, you don't use the 400 because it's just too fast. Like you'll end up nicking the boards beside, right? So you use the other one where you have nice slow control and like you can get right next to the edge because what happens with the 400, you go rip like that. Next thing you know, you cut through like three boards. Like it's a little bit like it is crazy fast. It is a crazy fast saw. Might not be 500 eye fast, but like I said, if you were to take what would take the MS 400 say 10 seconds to cut through the 500 eye, I'll do it in about 7.5. Like that's if speed matters to you. Like it's a fast enough saw. Again, if I'm working in the bush with somebody with a 500 eye and I got the 400 and we're following trees with it, like who's going to do more work? I don't know. Like it doesn't work like that in the bush. That's why speed isn't everything. Torque, power, yeah, you want as much of that as possible. Speed helps because it's faster, and the whatever, but it's not the be all end all. Like I mean, the amount of messing around I'm going to do trying to take this tree, like the cuts are going to be the quick part. You know what I mean? It's the setting up the cut takes that's what takes the half hour. You know what I mean? Figuring out exactly where you're going to cut and all this stuff. Anyway, I just thought I'd do a little update video there just to give you something on the BitChute, or sorry, on the YouTube. I got to do some BitChute videos. Yeah, so anyway, I got to do that because I haven't done some in a while, and I have a reason why I'll explain in my next video.